Hello, Ellen. How are you? Thank you for your patience. I was just flying off something else to this, so thank you so much.
No, thanks to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Yeah. How
I
about you?
saw that I'm doing amazing as well. I'm excited and a bit nervous, I must say, to have you
Oh,
again. But I saw that you were in Mexico City. I know Eric from La Casa, and I saw that you were at
oh
Mexico City.
my
Yeah.
God, amazing. Yeah, it was my first time in Mexico City in October. I've always wanted to be there for Dia de los Muertos, and it was really great. Um, and yeah, I really enjoyed being in the city. And yeah, we have some 15, 17 community members there and founders, and it was great to connect with people. And I will have to catch you next time there.
Yeah. Did you get to learn some Spanish or not?
I mean, this is terrible. I took 4 years of it in high school and I'm terrible at it, but like I get to practice a little bit. Um, yeah, so like I do okay. Like I'll say it like that.
Amazing. So Daniel, thanks for joining. So before I will say something in Spanish just everyone knows that this is in English. Everyone knows just to be sure. But
Wait, you want me to say something in Spanish
no,
because
no,
they know it's in English?
I will say just something in Spanish, a disclaimer in Spanish, then we begin, and that's it.
Okay, great.
Listo, pues chicos, chicas, gracias por entrar por acá. Entonces, nada más para que lo sepan de contexto, la charla va a ser en inglés porque pues Daniel no habla español. Entonces, porfa, cualquier pregunta que tengan, nos la pueden dejar o pueden levantar su mano y la pueden hacer. Yo voy a iniciar con un par de preguntas y de ahí lo podemos seguir. And what I said is that this talk is going to be in English because Danielle is learning some Spanish. So next time she comes to Mexico, Colombia, or any other part of Latam, she will be learning some Spanish. We will make sure of that. But yeah, I'm super excited for the guest that we have today, which is Danielle Strachman. She's the co-founder of 1517 Fund and was part of the funding team at the Thiel Fellowship. And I'm super excited because she's someone that I deeply admire because she invests a lot of belief capital in different people, which is believing more in people more than we believe in ourselves sometimes. So Danielle, thanks a lot for joining us today. And yeah, so as a quick context, could you give us a brief intro of yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Very happy to be here. Thank you again for having me. Quick intro about myself is that I was never supposed to be in VC when I was growing up. I never thought like I would work in finance. In fact, my younger childhood self would probably think that's pretty hilarious about the work I'm doing now. So I think one of the big life takeaways is that like life twists and turns and you do all kinds of stuff that's really different. I've been in some form in alternative ed for about it's coming up on 25 years at this point, which is pretty exciting. At one point, this looked like being a homeschool teacher. I also started a charter school in San Diego that's been running for 16 years called Innovations Academy. And that's based on homeschooling principles. You're going to see a homeschooling thread kind of through everything here.
Yeah.
Then I was on the founding team of the Thiel Fellowship starting in 2010. For those of you who are not familiar, the Thiel Fellowship is a program that was very, very radical, especially for its day. In 2010, especially in the States, if you were a young person and you were even thinking about like, hey, maybe I'm gonna go do something different and not go to a 4-year university. Sorry, my Chihuahua is losing his mind at another dog outside. So hopefully, now be quiet, mister. Hopefully he'll be quiet
Yeah, no
soon.
worries. We can hear
Oh,
him.
you can't even hear it. Okay, good. He's just distracting me then. Perfect. Um, but um, but yeah, that program started in 2010. And for a young person to say, hey, I'm going to take a break, and not go to university was literal blasphemy. Like it was just unheard of. And if you were to talk to your parents in 2010 about taking time off school, like you'd get yelled at. Like, dropping out was for dunces who weren't going to make it in the world. It wasn't for people who were making a conscious decision about their future. So our masthead was that some ideas can't wait. And we said, hey, like for some young people, going to 4-year university might be the right step, but maybe the right step for some people is to build something. And one of the things that I've seen over time is that in our society, we're somewhat eager to give young people awards for things that they've already done, but we are very not eager to give young people resources to build something in their future. And so with the fellowship, we were giving these young people $100,000 to work on a project of their choosing outside university or other employment, to say, hey, we think you could do something really amazing when given more resources. Let's see what happens. And that intuition was a really interesting one that Peter had. I came in to run the program shortly after, and it really very much resonated a lot with some of the homeschooling philosophy that I came from in the past. And we got to work with people who have become some of the tech greats, people like Vitalik Buterin, before he launched Ethereum, people like Dylan Field with Figma, Laura Deming, both with her longevity fund and also with her new, now, it's cool to see like 15 years later, oh yeah, and now she's doing a cryopreservation startup. People like Ritesh with Oil Rooms, and all of this was before people launched stuff. This wasn't an award for what young people had done. This was resources to see what they could do. And then from working there for 5 years and seeing people build incredible things, we thought young entrepreneurship is a trend, not a fad, and we think we could scale this, and we could scale it in a venture fund. So my colleague and I stepped aside from our roles to build 1517 that is often like the first angel check or pre-seed check into a company that is worked on by people who don't have college degrees. And actually we are, right before this, I just sent out our like, hey, we're launching our fund for email to our investors, which are called LPs, limited partners, to say, hey, we're ready to get started with this, like put your money here. And we've got their commitments, and I'm really excited because what I think is the trend and not the fad right now is young people working in really deep tech, sci-fi tech areas. And we've been watching this grow over the last 10 years with the fund. And I think that that the time is now to strike. The iron is super hot around young people working on really like world-changing science, that is going to have a profound effect on humanity. And I'm really excited to be able to use capital to spearhead that. So that's a little bit about like my own personal journey. And I know we're doing an AMA today. I'm happy to answer any questions. No question is too little. No question is too big. No question is too stupid. No question. Yeah, like I'm open to everything. So whatever people want to talk about, that's what I want to talk about. And even if you think to yourself like, oh, I can't ask this, you can. Like.
Amazing. So if anyone has any question for Danielle, just please raise your hand and you can ask it. But to begin with, I just wanted to ask you, what is one question that you don't get asked often, but you think that is a good question that we can ask you?
Oh, man, you like asking Danielle level questions. I love asking people questions like this. Oh gosh. Okay, there's something brewing in my mind. What is that? Oh, that's such a good question. I'm like, yeah, what don't we get asked enough? Sorry, I'm gonna need a few more seconds to think about this. I'm like, because we get asked so many different questions. Oh man, it's really, really tough. One thing that's kind of interesting that maybe this goes into, we don't get like there's these whole ecosystems in finance, and this has been the interest, and actually just being in the world of global macro is really interesting. I find there's nothing that keeps you like for me anyways, there's nothing that keeps me learning more than practical application of a subject. I've never been much of a theoretical person. I need to put my hands on something, which makes a lot of sense because both my parents are builders. Like my dad is a mechanic and my mom is a carpenter. And it's like, it makes sense that of course, I wish I'd paid more attention and built some of those skills, but I'm like, no, I need like the hands-on application of global macro and hands-on application of the types of people that we work with in finance. But one thing people don't ask very much about is like, who are the people who invest in investors? So there's sort of this whole world of people. And we got a really nice compliment. In fact, I should have said this in my email to our LPs. I'll have to send it in a second email. But yes, there are these people called limited partners who invest in funds. And we had a founder retreat last week, and I was talking to one of our founders, and like, he just said like randomly, oh, you guys have really cool LPs. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, this guy's name is Nick. I was like, what do you mean, Nick? Like, I've not been around other people's LPs before. And he says, well, you go to another fund's events, and like the LPs are these finance people, and maybe they'll be there for a couple of years before they move on to some other role, or another job, or just doing something completely different. But your LPs are family offices and individuals, sometimes with multi-generational experience. And it's just interesting to talk to them because they have interesting stories and backgrounds, and they really care about what they're doing. Like, it feels more like talking to a founder than talking to someone in finance. And I found that really interesting. I was like, oh, I never thought about our LP group that way. A lot of them have built their own businesses, or their families have built multi-generational businesses, sometimes starting with almost nothing to get started. And so that's, the stories really resonate. But what's interesting is that as founders, you not only need to understand what's going on with your company, but you also need to understand what's happening in the minds of investors. And if you're going to understand what's happening in the minds of investors, you have to understand what's happening in the minds of LPs. And then from there, this is where you get into like understanding world events and how does that affect, you know, what you're doing with your business and your life. And it can like really broaden perspective. So yeah, I think LP stuff people don't often ask about because it's easy to kind of stop at the VC layer and kind of pause there.
Yeah, there is a whole word regarding the LP stuff, but
Yeah.
I also want to hear questions from the audience. So guys, don't be shy,
Yes.
because there were plenty of questions that were left in the Luma. So I will
Ooh.
start with some people, which is Elias. You had one question. What was it?
To be honest, I don't remember, but I can ask another one.
Great.
Daniel, what are good and bad reasons for becoming a founder at a young age?
Sure. Good and bad reasons for becoming a founder. I think at any age, I don't think it has to do with like a young age in particular. I'll start with the good reasons. The good reasons are like, you have a mission or a calling that you want to enact, and like the best place for you to do that is in a startup because someone else isn't already doing it. Other good reasons to start like the startup and like really go full time on it is that, you know, you're starting to see, okay, here's some people who would be customers who would be interested in this. And it's to the point where you're eating, breathing, drinking what you're doing, and you can't get your mind on anything else. You know, other good reasons to start I mean, those are the big ones to me. Reasons not to do it is because it's cool, because you think it's the place you're going to get fame and fortune. 99.9% of startups fail, and you'll be left with literally zero, and you'll be left with negative because you'll probably be like not taking a salary somewhere else, using your savings account, and worse, going into credit card debt. So not only will you have nothing, you'll have spent more than it gives back to you financially. So this is why we talk to founders about like, you have to have that calling there, because it has to be so important to you from a mission level. And that's what's going to get you through the hardship of doing the startup. We had a team that was pitching us recently, and when we were asking them like, hey, like, we like to talk about what we call the sustaining motivation. What's that thing that's going to carry you all the way through what you're doing and through the hard times? Because startups are not easy. And the founder said like, oh, well, we really think there's a huge market here and we're really excited about it. And we tried to softball the team another question that was in a similar vein, and they just couldn't quite latch on to that. What we were talking about wasn't like market size, but was like, why is this actually important to you? Yeah, so fame and fortune, cool factor, you know, those are probably the big reasons not to do it.
Amazing. Thanks, Daniel, and thanks, Elias. And I see Manuel.
Well, I have a question, and it's about the time that you were working with Peter Thiel,
Mhm.
what were like the green and red flags of the people that were applying? Like what
Oh,
it's
sure.
like
Yeah.
you never mind, you don't have to do that, and what you wish
Sure.
people will be doing.
Sure. What we always said was that like when you're applying, and I tell this to people today, like you want to show that you're working on the thing that you're doing and not that you're going to get a fellowship and then start working on the thing. I believe that there's always something that you can do to move the ball forward. And that doesn't mean you need money to do it. It could be like sketching out some ideas. It could be talking to potential customers. It could be learning more in the space. Like there's always something that you can do. And so, yeah, like yellow and red flags were people who like, you could tell they wanted a fellowship to have a fellowship, not to be building something specific. And the people who had something more specific, that's what we were looking for. In addition, trying to think, there were a lot of people who would sort of pander to the choir in their application. And we really wanted people who were unique thinkers who had their own ideas. So showcasing those things is important. Um, and yeah, those are a couple things that come to mind.
Great. So next one is Alexander.
Hi, Danielle, Alex from Peru. My first question is, what are the most interesting projects that you invest in your last project organization, 15,
Sure.
17 fund?
Yeah.
My second question is, what are the differences from young founders of 10 years ago and the current young founders? Because we know that there is a lot of stories that we know about the solopreneurs that use AI agents, and yeah, what's your opinion about that?
Yep, got it. I'm just writing down both questions because sometimes when there's a lot, I start losing it. All right, so on the interesting project side, one is that like we have a young man who's 18 years old here in San Francisco. He moved here. He just set up a lab here. He's a company called Solcoa. I'll spell the name of the company in the chat if people want to look it up. The founder's name is Human, and he is building a rare earth metals company to be able to do extraction, but for cheaper what you could typically do. And he's just really fascinating. I got a great update from him yesterday. He texted me some pictures of like, hey, things are working. Like now we got to see if it can work at scale. And I love what he's doing. And more than what he's doing, I just love who he is and where he started. So when I was in his office in December, he's like, he's up at a whiteboard and he's like talking about all the stuff he's doing. And I was like, okay, hold on, time out, like back me up. Like, cause another team member works more closely with him than I do. And I was like, can you like just back me up to your origin story a little bit? Like, how did you even get started on this? And he's like, yeah, I was 13 years old. And, my parents gave me a corner of the garage. And like, I got to do some experiments there and I didn't have any money and I didn't have any machines. And so I had to think about what might be ways that I could do this, like literally with nothing. And that got me started on like my thinking in this space. And I just thought that was really interesting. We have another company called Marathon Fusion. I'll just put their name in the chat too. They are currently out there in the midst of raising a Series A round right now. They are working on infrastructure in the fusion space. I love what they're up to. And yeah, those are a couple that come to mind. I'm really inspired by a ton of our companies. Actually, some of the big ones that some of you might know from online are Mach Industries. They're a defense tech company. We love working with Ethan from Mach. And then Augustus from Rainmaker. He's quite the vibe on Twitter. But yeah, Augustus embodies a lot of the traits that we look for. He's just such a geek about what he's doing technically, but also he's a geek on the business side in terms of, he's doing business in Jordan right now. And it's like, yeah, how do you do business in Jordan? So you have to be the type of person who really wants to learn, on all different sides about what you're doing. So those are a couple companies I'm particularly inspired by right now. Oh, also, actually, I got another one. Josie with the Los Angeles project that just had some incredible press come out, I think less than 3 weeks ago. They're like a genetic editing company. So like they want to put out a first glowing bunny as a start, but then they're thinking about building hypoallergenic pets as another step. But Josie's big dream is to make animals we've never seen before and be like, all right, we're ready for a literal unicorn. Or like, why not have a Pegasus? Like, let's do it. Yeah, why not have Pokemon? Yeah, let's go. So I love Josie. Josie is an incredible founder and so creative and interesting. This is another thing that has actually started to creep up. We've noticed that a lot of our founders, and this makes a lot of sense to me, are really artistic. You know, and so that creative mentality also applies to other areas and also applies to their startups. We had a founder who recently posted about selling a piece of his art in our group chat with founders, and then people were like, whoa, this is amazing. And then I put in the chat, I was like, wait, if any else of you are making art, like I want to see it. And a bunch of people, like this one guy who is a German founder who works on a company called CalWave, he like put this painting in the chat and it was really good. And I was like, wait, what? Like we've got like painter founders in here, who knew? So that creative mindset goes far. And then you asked about AI agents and things like this. We are seeing lots of teams be able to do more with less because of utilizing, you know, AI, and that makes sense. Like, you know, when I was growing up, the internet was introduced, and if you were a founder, you'd be remiss to not be using the newer tools. Like, you know, if someone came and said, oh, hey, we're founding something, but we're not going to use the internet, that would sound very strange. And so I do think that most founders should be thinking about how do they integrate AI into not only like their products, but also into their teams and how they work. On the AI side, we get very excited about infrastructure for things. We do not get very excited about tools. And the reason for that is because when someone comes to us and pitches an AI for accounting company, what most founders don't know is that we're getting like 10 inbound pitches a week for that. So then I don't think I'm smart enough to figure out which one of those teams, or maybe which two at most of those teams, are going to really hit it out of the park. So where we really like to sit is more at the infrastructure, like who's working on things in chip design and efficiencies at that layer, more so than how are people using these tools.
Amazing. Thanks,
Yeah.
Alex. And sorry, I see next one is Matias.
Hello, thank you. Hi, Danielle. Thank you for your time here.
Yeah, of course.
You mostly answered a big part of my question, which was what things drag your attention about new startups? What are the key things that you look for when you're evaluating different companies?
Yeah. So we like to say at 1517, we are who over what. The what matters to us. It's not like that we're just like, oh, it's 100% about the team, but it is probably like 90% about the team. That said, what the team is focused on, we think is like an example of like where they want to go and their vision and values and their ability to build. So we do love teams who are working on sort of like hardware, deep tech, sci-fi tech, things like that. We do also do some B2B SaaS and consumer, but those are becoming like fewer and far between at this point, just because we know where our hearts lie, if you will. And then on the founder side, what we're really looking for are some different traits. My colleague wrote a whole book about these traits. It's called Paper Belt on Fire. Actually, a second edition is going to be coming out soon, published by the O'Shaughnessy Group, which is going to be exciting. Might even have a new title. Like we don't even know what the title is going to be yet. And of course, he's going to get to work with them on it. But yeah, if you want the hardbound version, you can get it in the link. Alan just posted it. And some of the traits that we look for, one of them we call hyperfluency. It's this ability to talk backward and forward ad nauseum about something in a very excited fashion. Like when you listen to someone who has hyperfluency, it's like being in the last inning of a baseball game or soccer game, and you're on the edge of your seat and you're like, what's going to happen? Like there's a certain energy to someone who's really passionate about what they do that's infectious. So we look for that. We look for major geekery in that area, but we also look for, can they scaffold their language? Can they talk to anybody? Can they talk to an expert in the field, but can they also talk to like our team about what they're doing? And sometimes we joke and say like, talk to us like we're the dumbest golden retrievers you've ever met. Like just really dumb it down for us. And one of the things that's been interesting for us, and I don't know if this is because both Michael and I, like I was a teacher and Michael thought he was going to be a teacher at one point. I don't know if this is like our bias that we like love educator types. But I do think there's something to a founder who can articulate things to different people, because you're going to be working with customers, investors, team members who know more and less than you do in different ways. And if you're not a good communicator, it's going to be really hard to get certain things across the line and to build a team and to have investors who believe in you and things like that. So that's a very strong trait that we look for. And there's a bunch of other traits in the book as well.
Amazing.
Awesome, thank you. So,
Yeah.
Next one, Nick.
Hello, Danielle. I have a couple of questions. First, about the name. As someone that has a name that is a little bit misleading, like me, deep sea developments, we don't do anything around deep sea things. Why 1517? Is it have it something to do with Martin Luther or something like that? Yeah.
It does. Yes, it does. So it is based on the year 1517, which is when the Protestant Reformation happened. I talked to someone recently who knows so much about the Protestant Reformation, and I thought to myself, and I told this guy, wow, you have to come speak at one of our future events, because like there's so many interesting tie-ins here. But the basic tie-in for us is that Martin Luther was protesting the Catholic Church and saying, hey, it's wrong for you to try to sell to the common man that you have to buy this piece of paper to save your soul and get into the kingdom of heaven. And likewise, we say there's another large institution, higher ed, that says, hey, you have to buy this piece of paper to save your soul to call yourself an educated person. And when we're feeling cheeky, which is like 100% of the time, we say it was bullshit then and it's bullshit now. There's some other interesting parallels with that year, which is that the printing press was more widely adopted at that point. It wasn't invented in that year, but it was starting to get more wide usage. So like on the religious side, for example, people could have their own Bible, which was huge. Like you could have your own book, which was kind of like a technology of like, okay, you can have this yourself. You don't need to get your religion from an organization. You can go to the source of it. And so we think about things like that as well, of like, you know, now, especially with the types of people we work with, and we think about, you know, the term digital native is like old at this point. Now we're going to have children who are AI native. And it's like, wow, this is really interesting to see what's going to be coming down the pipeline for the types of people we work with. I was talking to a potential LP a week ago, and he says, where do you guys want to be in 15 years? And I said, I want to be funding 11-year-olds. Like, you know, our contrarian truth is that child labor is good and that people could be contributing to really incredible futures at even younger ages. And I think things like having AI in your pocket, and we're already seeing this with teenagers, where it's like the amount of learning and knowledge that they have, not only like in their minds, but also like at their fingertips, and how they're using it is accelerating at a clip that I don't think we're, as a society, we're ready to accept that yet. Like school is going to be obsolete like pretty soon, and it's still not going to adjust because these institutions are old and frayed.
Okay. Interesting. The other question that I have more into the topic, or like, as an investor, for the in the general ecosystem, or for the startups that you're or the teams that you're funding, how do you see the balance between like growth versus sustainability for a startup? You could say that before you could put like start burning money, and the startup, whatever they're doing, they're selling growth to next investors. But how you have changed in the times to now?
Yeah, so I'm usually like a very optimistic, like 99% of the time I am a super optimistic person. 1% of the time I can be pretty pessimistic about. And one of like the new pessimisms that has fallen into my brain is that like I'm into free will and like that people can do things, but I'm also fairly convinced at this point that the market you're in is like 99% of it and your will is 1% of it. And so, yeah, if you're in a market that is flush with cash and people are throwing money at you, it's very different than if you're in a market that is very constrained and people aren't throwing cash. There have been some very hard lessons that I think the growth groups have learned over time about putting too much money into a company when there isn't enough substance. And so there's been a giant pullback in the last 3 years in terms of growth rounds, which also filters all the way down to the early companies. You know, I had a team that was pitching me last week for $4 million with no product, with no pilot contracts, like literally nothing. And I wrote to them this morning and I was like, guys, like, and they're not founders with an exit either. Like there's nothing here that anyone, like maybe 10 years ago, someone would have been like, okay, yeah, we're going to get you started with a $2 million check. But that is not where the market is at now. And so I think one of the things that we talk to founders about is like, you have to align yourself with reality while also having this ridiculous will to power to be able to like escape reality also. So you have to be able to look reality in the eye and be like, wow, the market is bad right now. Like it is not a great place as far as like larger amounts of capital, which again filters all the way to the beginning. And this started 3 years ago, you know, when the market crashed, and things have recovered somewhat. Things are certainly better than they were 2 years ago. But you also have to have the strength of character and will to be like, okay, I'm going to overcome the realities of the situation. So yeah, things are really hard right now. And again, you should not be starting a startup for fame and fortune. Because even if you get it, you might look back and be like, I don't know if it was worth it. Like, I don't even know, because it's, and like time to IPO now, the average is 12 years. Some companies are just staying private even longer, which is actually also going to have a crazy effect on the startup market. I was talking to an employee at Databricks the other day, and he's like, yeah, like at some point, some of us are going to need to like sort of get off the ride and do different things. And I think the company's been going 11 years at this point. So it's like really interesting to think about these things. So you got to understand the market you're in as well as you can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick. And next one is Erika.
Hi, Danielle. I
Hey,
appreciate you for being here. You were mentioning, you know, the exciting about early investments in deep tech, but in your experience, what are the most significant mindset, the shifts that are the entrepreneurs in deep tech need to adopt? You know, because now after Series A, Series B, you know, they're needing to scale their businesses, and you know, AI, clean tech, there is a lot of competition, a lot of significant funding, and it is overwhelming.
It's all about building an actual business. So a few years ago, like I would say pre-2022, if you were a deep tech company, you could raise a Series A and a Series B on technical milestones alone. It is not that way anymore at all. Like you have to have pilots, you have to have customers, you have to be building an actual business. So as soon as we started, like our job that we feel our job is like the founders are captains of the ship, but we're the navigators. We're like up in the crow's nest trying to kind of keep an eye out for like, is there an iceberg, or like what knowledge do you need, or like what do you need to get through the environment that you're in? Like we keep talking about global macro here. And one of the things we started advising our deep tech founders on was like, you need to start talking to potential customers immediately. You don't need to necessarily like land them, but that same like lean startup methodology that software people use, you have to start talking to people really early so that you know that what you're building is something that they're going to want. And then you need to line yourself up with potential pilots like by or before Series A. And then by Series B, people want to see that you have full-on contracts. Like, so you have to be a real company. And that's what makes you stand out in these spaces. It's not having the better tech at this point. It's like having great tech and great customers on the deep tech side also. And that was an interesting shift to see happen, because it was like, it was just surprising. It was like, wow, like everything has been about scientific milestones for so long. But now, okay, it's not just about that anymore. That's right. Build those rockets.
They are building some rockets. So
Oh,
Alfonso.
awesome. Amazing.
Yeah. Hi, Danielle. It's great to be here with you today. I have two questions regarding the rise of AI agents, these systems that can act and make decisions on our behalf. The first one would be, where do you see this tech heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, God.
And the second one is, has your fund backed any startups focused on AI agents? And what do you see as a key differentiator that sets one apart from the crowded field in that competitors space?
Yeah, okay. So on the AI agent side, for us, at least right now, that all the pitching we've heard in that space has very much been sort of in the tool usage space of it. And so many people are pitching that they're building and creating AI agents that we have no horse in that race, because we think it's too difficult to figure that piece out. Where do I think it's going? I don't know. Like, we often talk about that we are working with founders who are going to bring us to the frontier of something. It's not that we have some take on the future and we're going to go find founders to do that. I haven't personally met anyone yet who has given me a thesis that I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. And I think that's exactly where we're going. I think people are going to be using agents a lot for all kinds of efficiencies. And I'm not entirely sure what that's going to look like. I also kind of think there's going to be somewhat of a bifurcation of what happens. I think there's going to be some people who get really into these efficiencies. And then I sometimes joke and say, and then there's going to be people who are a little bit like me who want to be Amish and like not touch some of these tools. But I think on the business side, people are going to be going for these efficiencies. And I'm thinking about things like this as well. Like at 15, 17, we've amassed an incredible amount of knowledge and data. Like, you know, we take tons of notes about the companies and we take them by hand, because like, you know, surprise, surprise, like I used to be a teacher and I know that handwriting your notes actually means you learn more and you keep it more. We don't handwrite them. I wish we did, but you know, I'm like typing notes on things, but I've been thinking like, hey, we're 10 years in, we have all these amazing notes. Like we need to be layering on some tools that can do some analysis. So I know that's not on the agent side, but I think a lot of industries are going to be thinking about how do we take our proprietary stack and layer AI on top of this to make ourselves like more like powerful with this data that we already have. So my guess is that you know a lot more about agents than I do, Alfonso. So I'd be curious, you know, where you think these spaces are going. Would love to chat about it sometime.
Sure. Thank you very much for your responses.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Stacy.
Hi.
Hey, Stacy.
Hi, Danielle. It's
so good to see you. So good to see you.
I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about like the common threads you see among your founders, especially in their childhoods. Maybe do you have any theories about even like what's a necessary condition to becoming a builder?
Yeah. Gosh. Oh man, I mean, the word that comes to mind for so many of the people who we work with is curious. In fact, one of the traits we say that we look for is people who are 2 standard deviations out on curiosity, which means like you're a super, super curious person. I think children are inherently curious. I think it's something like that is part of the human spirit. Like my take on a lot of these things is that a lot of our institutions take that curiosity away from people and sort of vilify it, sometimes demonize it. And I think there's lots of reasons that happens, but I think being able to keep that curiosity fire sparked and going in young people is really, really important. And one thing we did do back in the old Thiel Fellowship days, we did do a survey of our Thiel Fellows, and the amount of them who had had some experience with some form of alternative education. And sometimes it was just like a year. It was like they homeschooled for a year, or they went to a Montessori kindergarten, or whatever it was. Like, we found that to be pretty normal. And I think one meta abstraction I would have there is that I think 100% of them, their parent was making some sort of really conscious choice about where to send their child to school. Like, none of them were like, I just went to this one school the whole time. Like, that was very rare. It was sort of more like, oh, I went to this place for this amount of time, then this other place for another amount of time. Some of them were public schools, some of them were private schools, some of them were charters, some of them were homeschooled. Like, it was kind of all over the map. But if I had to meta abstract something, it seemed like their parents were like really involved in what was right for them as an individual child and human and student. One thing that I've been thinking a lot about is like, there's curiosity, but then there's action. And like, if we can figure out how to like get curious people how to take action on things, that's like the fountain of youth to me. That's like the holy grail. And I do think there's something about children who are like allowed to experiment and like take apart equipment in the house, and like these types of stories we hear all the time from the founders we work with about like just the crazy things they did that, you know, might make their parents crazy, but also that their parents kind of enjoyed. Like, oh yeah, I stuck a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in this machine just to see what would happen. It was like, oh no, like that's terrible, but wonderful. Like that level of experimentation was welcome in the home. And I'd be curious too about like, did the parents have some of those traits, or were the parents kind of doing little experiments alongside their kids? And, you know, that could even be in the kitchen. It doesn't have to look like big tech stuff to put that attribute in people. But those are a couple of things that come to mind.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Congrats on the new baby.
Oh, thank you. He's got
like,
a 1517 onesie somewhere that we got to put him in, send you a picture of.
Amazing. Yes. Any of you who ever have a baby, the piece of swag that, and we just send it to people. We, you know, we don't, there's no swag shop where you can pay for this, but if you have a baby, email me. I'll throw my email in the chat and we will send you a 1517 onesie. It's always little kids wear like pink and blue and yellow. And it's always hilarious to see a baby in a black onesie with 1517 on it.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Next one, Juan.
Hi, Danielle. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Juan. I was prospect for the Thiel Fellowship of the 2024 class.
Oh, cool.
I finally didn't get it, but I learned a lot about the process.
Yeah.
For that reason, I know and I admire a lot your work and the things that you have built along with some of the greatest founders of our generation. And one that I admire the most is Ritesh Arwal of OU Roots. And my question is, what do you think about the Thiel Fellowship and other programs are now more focused on the US talent instead of these like founders that came from scratch?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have like lots of gripes about where the fellowship has gone, even in terms of their current selection. Like, I haven't worked there for 10 years, so they don't do it the way I want anymore. But yeah, to me, nonprofit dollars should be spent, you know, to give young people resources to see what they can do, not as an award or prize for what people have done. And I've noticed with the fellowship in particular, they very much sort of moved up the stack in terms of giving it to founders who have already raised money, and sometimes significant amounts of money. And I'm like, now it's an award. Like, that's not what this is for. And it's also, in my opinion, not what nonprofit dollars are for. So I, you know, I've been pretty vocal about this. I talked to the new director of the fellowship in December and actually have been texting with him, and I know he wants to take it in the direction of earlier, more nascent talent, and I think is also open more internationally as well, but I'll believe it when I see it. So I would like to see that too. In the old Thiel Fellowship days, it was interesting because one thing that's hard is just like when you're thinking about working with people internationally, a lot of people do want to come to the US to do things, but we didn't have, at the time, we didn't have very much of a way to help people navigate things like the O1. I think because we had programs like the Thiel Fellowship, like the O1 is actually, I think, a lot easier to navigate, you know, today than it was 15 years ago. And there's a lot more knowledge out there, which is really great. I'm going to put a link in the chat to a bunch of different grant programs, some that are US based, some that are international, that people can look at to, like, you know, get some more potential resources. I know Emergent Ventures, for example, has a specific Emergent Ventures for India program. I don't know about O'Shaughnessy Ventures, how much they do international. But yeah, Merge Club took my spreadsheet and made a website out of it. So
so you're not collaborating with Julian, or just?
I mean, basically, that's my hot take on it, anyways. So
okay.
Yeah.
Did you have another question, Juan, or not?
Yeah, thank you very much for the first one. And my last is, what is your most recent contrarian truth realization?
Oh, gosh. Yes, it's not really recent, but it's one I've been sharing that people think is hilarious. Sometimes I think about like, oh, like I've sometimes been early to the party on things before they got popular, and looking back, I see it. It's like I was working with homeschoolers before homeschooling became more of a mainstream thing. I was following a paleo nutritional philosophy before that became all the rage. I've been wearing flat shoes for a really long time, and like just stuff like that. My newest one that I thought about that I started 15 years ago is that I don't use pillows when I sleep, and people find this to be like bonkers. Like I've given a couple talks on it in the last couple of years, and I find it so funny because I'm like, you know, I could be known for like homeschooling stuff or, you know, alternative ed stuff, and people are like, give the big pillow talk, and I'm like, okay, that's hilarious. So for 15 years, I don't use like pillows when I sleep because I think it's bad for your body. And when I was 30, I started noticing having a little bit of back pain, and I just kind of wondered if it had to do with the pillows I was using. So, and when I got rid of them, my back pain stopped. So it's very interesting. There's a whole group that studies like all this soft, squishy stuff we sit on is probably bad for us. So I think, you know, in like 5 more years, Brian Johnson is probably going to be like, pillows are terrible and get rid of your couches. And I'm going to be like, yeah, I was there like 15 years ago, dude.
Okay, I will get rid of my pillow. Thank you very much, Danielle.
Me too.
I know I get emails and texts from people that are like, I'm trying the no pillow thing and how should I, people want to buy, it's funny. I feel like I should build a product because people are like, well, what do you use instead? I'm like, nothing. Like, but that people always want to buy something for something they view as a problem, which is so funny. So part of me feels like I should put out like the Danielle Strachman neck roll or something like that. Like sometimes I'll use a t-shirt folded up, something like very thin. Yeah, but I just sleep without a pillow.
You should start a
No
company.
capitalist needs on that one.
You should start a company.
I know, it's hilarious. It would be really funny if I had a side hustle as like a ergonomic, you know, no pillow company.
Amazing.
I
So
also sell these like barefoot shoes that, you know, are really ugly that I wear all the time that people are like, wow, those are like, one of our LPs makes fun of me for my shoes. He's always like, no, those are the worst. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to be able to walk when I'm 90 and you're not.
Yeah. Can you show them?
I have nice shoes on today. Let me show you my really ugly shoes.
The one with toes?
These are actually not the ones he makes fun of me for, but they're like it. So I'm so terrible. It has a hole in it. Like it's just it's a water shoe. They're just Swifties. And I wear them all the time. And they're like $10. Like they're super cheap. And yeah, I don't know. I wear them all the time and I think they're great. And
You also have here my barefoot shoes. Wonderful.
wait, what?
I also have here my barefoot shoes.
Oh, I don't know if I know those ones. Oh, I see. Yes, those are probably way more expensive than what I buy, but which means they're nicer.
What's the name of that type of shoes?
They're just water shoes. Yeah, and like this is not even like a brand. I mean, I literally just buy like the cheapest water shoes on Amazon. Like I'm not even, sometimes you can also look up water socks and like sometimes and they'll have like the thin plastic on the bottom. Yeah. It's funny. Like you're not cool when now the shoes that I wear that I get made fun of the most for, it's kind of almost more like a sock and it will often have like crazy colors and designs on it. You're not cool when little old ladies stop you on the street and are like, those are really cool. And I'm like, oh no. But I feel like I should carry around some of these in a backpack and like just sell them to people like for like $15 and be like, all right, yeah. So yeah, no pillow, no shoes. See, I've got a company right here. I just need a name for it and we're good to go.
Amazing. Gregorio?
Hi, Danielle. Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah.
I have two questions, actually. Well, one, it's more practical than, well, both are very practical. The one I wrote on the stuff is I'm trying to build a incubation program for a university.
Oh, wow.
So it's hard because most of the people are students that they just want to do something. They have ideas, but they lack a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. So I just wanted to ask you for, I don't know, tips, books, movies,
Sure, yeah.
radio stations,
man.
whatever that could help me build a better program than the one we
Okay,
have.
I'm super excited about this. And when you say it's a program, like it's like a month or number of months long, or
It's actually it's long. It's 16 weeks.
okay,
And
great.
And we ask 6 hours dedication minimum.
Here's what you got to do. And I've never seen anybody do it. And I want someone to take this idea and run with it. And maybe it's you, and maybe it's somebody else. Too many people are doing entrepreneurship class. Not enough people, literally nobody is doing entrepreneurship lab. With science, when you have like science lab and you get your hands dirty, I want that for entrepreneurship. And the way that I think it could look and be really cool is that like maybe for a few weeks each, the class focuses on different types of like rites of passage businesses. This could be a lemonade stand. This is building an app, tutoring company, apparel. All these types of things tend to be things that startup founders have all done in succession beforehand. It's like every startup founder you talk to is like, oh yeah, I tried to start a tutoring business, like all of them. All of them have started an app. All of them have had some form of a lemonade stand. But I think it would be amazing to be like, all right, everyone's going to get into teams and you're going to build a lemonade stand. And your lemonade stand is literally like anything where you're setting up a stand and trying to sell stuff and just see what happens. It could be a boba stand. It could literally be lemonade. It could be a food product. It could be whatever. And then in the class, what you're doing is coming back and comparing notes of like, here's how we got to get people at our booth. And we did it 4 different times and here's how we got people to do it. I think it would be so great for people to get that type of experience and nobody gets it. And then you could integrate some of like the everybody reads them startup books. It's like, there's 0 to 1, there's traction, there's 5 steps to the epiphany. You could add a cultural component of watching certain movies, that have to do with business. So there's lots of things you could do, but what I would urge you to do is thinking about the class more like a lab than a class.
And you would just take out all the knowledge part or make them study by themselves or whatever?
I mean, you could introduce certain things during class. You could have certain reading that you do. I don't think studying things is bad. I just think studying things without context is like not very satisfying. It's like, can you imagine reading about chemistry and never going to a lab to actually like mix things and figure it out? It's like, it's just
Yeah,
not
I
the
know.
same.
And there's also a lot of research about how context allows you to really learn. If not, you're
Yeah.
just, I don't know,
Yeah.
recitating or something.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much. That
Yeah.
was my first, and I probably will write you about it later.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you about that. And
I
any
have,
of you that want to reach out, I threw my email in the chat.
yeah, I already got that. I have 2 kids. They are a little bigger for onesies, but if you want them use your merch, I'll be happy to make
We
them.
haven't developed any like big kid merch yet, but eventually.
Okay. And
Yeah.
the other question is, well, I'm helping a young, well, a girl, well, a woman. She's developing, like, well, it's a wearable that uses the microphone that comes with a regular generic wearable. She bought that at first at Alibaba and stuff, but now she's building like an AI. How you say? I don't know. The thing listens to everything adults say to to your kids whenever you are not with your kids, and then another thing, another, I don't know, LLM, or I'm not really good at the tech part. Sorry, and here everyone is super good at that, but it's okay. I can at least ask the question. So she's putting this AI layer on top of the wearable to help you protect your kids from abuse, because especially sexual abuse is, it's super sad how the statistics really are. It's like 1 in every 5 girls, 1 in every 10 boys, it's going to suffer some sort of sexual abuse. So what she's building, it's meant to help you like intervene before it happens, because it never happens right away. It's 90% of the time is someone the kid knows, and it all starts with what do you say, indebidas? Well, por favor, ¿cómo se dice indebido?
Like forbidden?
Yeah, like that, inappropriate conversations. That's how everything starts. So the AI part will raise a flag and will help you intervene and hopefully manage to avoid the situation. So is that too agent for you, or maybe she could apply for funding on
She's
your...
certainly free to reach out. Like, I can't say right now whether or not that's going to be a fit for us. Although I have to run to another meeting because I know we're supposed to end a minute ago, and the person I'm talking to next is kind of a diva, and they're going to be the type who is weird about me being late. So I am going to have to finish up with you guys today. But I would absolutely love to hear from you all, and happy to do this again, Ellen. This is super, super fun. And we can go from there.
Yeah, Daniel, thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Daniel.